cool. Look at that. Mountain pies over the fire. Oh yeah. Delicious. So last night we were having our bonfire, our little tiny campfire, and we were burning wood. And Bob started telling us about something about char, biochar. And now he doesn't proclaim to be an expert, but he's been doing a lot of studying on this. And so he was just sharing a little bit of what he's learned so far, and it's so interesting. It's making me want to study it more and learn more. And Bob is on his journey of learning, but I wanted him to share a little bit about this with everybody so you could know about this as well. So we had wood in here, right? And it was just wood that we found on the property, right?
Any kind of wood, any kind of biomass. It can be sticks, branches, and just anything that was alive at one time. You can burn it. Even grasses, briars that was here.
You can even, oh wow,
yeah,
grasses you can turn into biochar?
Yeah, you can char anything. Wood chips,
Wow.
The lumber mills and stuff, they have sawdust and wood chips. It's all charable.
Wow, that's really interesting. So we had these logs on here and we were burning them down, and then you were telling me, when you were saying there was a point where you could tell that it was going to turn into charcoal. Yeah. Tell me about that.
When I first came here, I've been a gardener all my life, and I know that compost in the soil, after a couple years, there's nothing left. I never realized that it completely gets consumed by plants and the atmosphere.
Really,
and this is a pit. So basically, this is just charcoal that we burned last night. And this would be all ash if we had just left it when we left here last night. It'd just be a pile of ashes.
Right. And normally, after a campfire, that's what you see, is a pile, or like burning wood in a fireplace or something.
Right. But after the smoke and the flames is all done burning from your wood, down in this pit is lack of oxygen to get to this charcoal to completely consume it into ash.
Okay.
So at the top you got flames, which is gases that are burning out of the wood. There's hydrogen and there's methane. And once the flame starts to go out, you'll see in the bottom all them glowing coals.
Okay.
You put it out.
That's when you know. Now, do you have to have a pit to make this work?
Well, you don't, but it works best because it can't get no oxygen down there, because if you keep putting oxygen into the bottom of it, then it turns into ash.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. And as you add wood, you start a fire, and as you add wood, the wood on the top is burning off all the gases.
Okay.
And all the smoke and the volatile compounds and all the water that's in the wood. Okay. In other words, when the flame goes out, there's no more fuel there.
Okay.
But the coals will stay red.
They're so hot.
And they're very, very hot. So what we did last night when it got to the fire was done burning, I said, let's put it out. This is going to be charcoal. And now this is just charcoal that you could use in your charcoal grill.
This
is how they make charcoal. You put a little lighter fluid on there and you've got charcoal.
Now, let's see. Hold it up and kind of make it chink so you can hear it. That is crazy.
Really, 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 really light.
Lightweight too.
It's extremely light, and of course it's very black.
Yeah, it is.
But I stumbled upon this on YouTube, of course. Everybody learns a lot of stuff from YouTube, and I've been a gardener all my life, and I stumbled upon this thing they called terra preta.
Terra preta.
And I started just researching, and what is terra preta? But it's an ancient soil. It's thousands of years old from in the Amazon, where thousands of years ago Indians discovered how to use this.
Okay.
And today in the Amazon jungle, they do a slash and burn. They slash all the trees and they burn it because they want to plant something. But the soils in the Amazon is some of the poorest soils on the planet. Well, there was certain areas over there that was extremely fertile. They discovered, like, why is the soil so black and so rich, where everywhere else it was just clay. It was horrible soil, even though you think that the Amazon would be this tropical jungle and all that. It's not. It's very, very poor soil. It got to the point where they needed to find out what was what was going on here.
And what was making it so rich in one area and not in another?
Exactly, exactly. You just go from here to there, and it was like beautiful black soil, 4 to 6 feet deep.
Oh my.
And so the scientists got involved, and they started, you know, researching and find out what it was. And that's what it was.
And it was biochar.
They were using charcoal.
Charcoal.
This is charcoal until you take, it's like a sponge.
Okay.
You know,
it is lightweight, so it's going to soak up.
It's extremely light and extremely porous.
Okay.
This much right here, they say probably has the surface area of half of a football field. It's just astronomical.
Oh my.
And the biology of the soil and stuff always just fascinated me, so I just took off with this thing, you know.
Right, you got interested and you took off.
Yeah, and so then you turn charcoal into biochar, but you can't just put this in the soil because it's a sponge. And if you got halfway decent soil and you put this in there, it's going to attract everything into this. And your plants are not going to thrive. In fact, if you put this in your soil, your garden's going to be worse.
Okay.
So you got to deal with this. So
what do we do?
In the Amazon times, well, they had all kind of waste, their food waste, their manure from whatever they raised or whatever, and they would compost it.
Okay.
And they would mix it with this.
Oh.
So you mix the charcoal
with your compost?
With a nutrient.
Okay.
And it absorbs it up. Then it becomes biochar,
and
which is
it's
activated. Then they call it activating the charcoal, and then you break it down smaller than this, maybe pea size at least, and after a month or so in the compost, then it's ready to go in the garden. Oh. And what really fascinated me, I live in Florida, and the soil is white sand, and I can dump compost in there until my heart's content.
Yeah.
And in a couple of years, it's gone.
Oh my.
Because, you know, you put something good in the soil and all the trees and grass, and it just sucks it away.
Yeah.
And it rains so much, it leaches right through the soil. And it got to the point where I give up.
Yeah.
And then this excited me so much, like, oh, I can save my soil, because once you activate this charcoal with the nutrients and you put it in the soil, they say it'll last 1,000 years.
Oh my gosh.
So all you have to do is just add a little bit every year. You know, you can start off with a little bit.
Okay, so this pile right here, because you're going to take this home and you're going to put this in your compost. Are you going to put this whole thing in your compost or just a little bit of it?
I'm going to put it all in there. I'm going to break it down.
Yeah.
I'm going to break it down to, you know, probably even smaller than this.
Okay.
Just crush it down. I'm going to put it in a feed bag and just crush it down, put it in there.
Okay.
And another wonderful thing about this is, because it is like a sponge, we got poor soil, sandy soil, it's going to hold the moisture. You know, it just locks the moisture and nutrients, and all the microorganisms that live in the soil go in all the microscopic pores, and they live and they breed, and they got a home now. Because before they're just in the soil and they just can't really survive.
Went right through it.
It's like a coral reef. It's got all them tiny little cracks and crevices and all the fish and all the living things. That's where all the life is.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Is where all the life for your soil is.
I'm so excited.
And that's a...
Thank you for explaining that, because last night when you explained it, you know how when something is like over your head, and that was over my head last night, but explaining it to our viewers today, I'm understanding it even more, because like I took what you said yesterday and now I'm getting a little bit more of what you said.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize that you had to mix this with compost and like let it soak up all the nutrients in the compost. So conceivably, the longer you leave this in compost, the richer it would get. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the longer you leave it in there, the more, and you're feeding your compost every day and giving all them microorganisms something else to eat, you know, and just keeps growing and building and building, and there's lots to learn about it, you know.
That's amazing.
And what you said about that you didn't pick up last night,
right?
Because sometimes you got to hear things twice.
Yes.
I mean, I listened to hour-long lectures from scientists about this biochar, and I listened to it again, and I got more out of it the second time.
Exactly.
Because it takes you a while to just get everything, but it is so fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating, and it is it's technical, and yet it's simple.
It's so simple. They did it thousands of years ago.
Right.
We put a man on the moon, and we didn't discover this. We discovered somebody else that did this before us.
Right. Right.
That's amazing
With
to
like
me.
An ancient practice.
Like how did they accidentally stumble upon this? How did they know how to do it? Did it, you know, like I said, in the Amazon nowadays, we cut the forest down and burn it to ash.
Right.
They cut it down and put the fire out
Right.
and used it to enhance their soils.
That's amazing.
It just blew me away. Like, I got hope for my garden, and you do too, Barbara. This is solid clay up here, you know.
It really is.
And probably millions of other people out in the country that's got horrible soil, and yeah, it's exciting to me.
This is exciting. Last night I was trying to absorb it. I wasn't quite getting it. You know, last night when we were sitting around, it was above 80, so you know, I was a little warm. And we were around a campfire. It was a long day, and I was trying to understand. And when you got to the part where you were saying how this would pick up all the nutrients from the ground, I didn't get to that second part in my brain about putting it in the compost and then spreading it.
Right.
I didn't quite get that.
Yeah,
so that is really interesting.
Yes, activating that charcoal to make it useful
Okay.
to the plants. And the more microbes you've got living in there, they actually, when they excrete, that's what the plant uses.
To grow.
And it's just a web of life, they call it.
That's amazing.
You know, the plant photosynthesizes, makes sugars, goes down into the roots, and the scientists are just learning now that the roots actually put out sugars, not just for itself, but for them microorganisms.
Oh, wow.
The plant knows it has to feed them microorganisms, and that microorganisms live in this stuff, and the plant feeds, and it's just a cycle.
Nice. That is really
fascinating.
It is
but start off investigating Terra Preta. It's called Terra Preta.
Okay.
And that'll talk about the Amazon soils, and you'll get a better, good understanding of what it is. And then you can go into the biochar. Biochar. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, Bob, for
You're
sharing
welcome.
this with us.
I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too. Okay, guys, go ahead and do your research, get a little more information. We are going to use this. We've got this fire pit. Bob's going to take this home, but we're going to be using our fire pit for quite a while, and it doesn't make sense for us to use anything but the wood that we can find on our land. We have 13 acres, so I think we might be able to find a tree or two.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. There's plenty of stuff around here to burn into char.
Yeah.
And last night we were deciding whether just let the fire burn down to ash, and before we went home, and I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to just put it out.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to take this, I'm taking it home with me.
So guys, in the future, I am going to show you what it looks like when it's ready. Hopefully I can catch it, at the proper point.
Yeah.
But it's when the flames are not there, but it's still red hot.
Yes.
And so then you pour water on it, and it's amazing what happens. It starts sizzling, and then when you put the water in, you can just kind of hear it. It makes this little chinky sound, chink, 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 like coins almost.
Yeah.
Not quite,
It's got a
but
little
like
bit of a
little
metallic
tin.
sound to
A
it.
little metallic
It
sound.
does. It sounds
Yeah, it does.
a little
That's
bit
amazing.
metallic.
Okay. Well, thanks, Bob, for sharing this
You're
with us.
welcome.
And we will talk to you later, and we'll show you more. Thanks for joining us on Cedar Croft Homesteading Adventure.